Good morning, it's Graham Healy from Rise Up Australia, Brisbane 2025. I've just decided to do a introductory video on the pop-up that comes on your screen when you go to Rise Up Australia, Brisbane 2025. And the background I've got there, which I'm checking now, that's all good. It's got the Truth blog, Graham Healy Prophetic and Political, Australia First, and the Spirit of the Light Horse Brigade liberated Israel on the 31st of October 1917. Quite appropriate because today is Anzac Day, the 25th of April 2026. And you can see the three flags that I have there: Israel, the Star of David, the Australian flag, and the USA American flag. Now, a little bit of past, present, future for me. I was the Senate candidate for Rise Up Australia in the 2019 election. And at that time, Pastor Daniel Nyala was in charge of Rise Up Australia. And since then, they've deregistered the party. And it's basically become a advocacy. When you go onto the website, and I'll bring that up in a second, you'll see a couple of links there. One is to this blog, and the other one is to my background profile, which, basically I've had a background in small business. I was in the airlines for 10 years, etc. You can read about that. And my grandparents, or one set of my grandparents, were cane farming pioneers in Innisfail, the Mina Creek, Innisfail area. And the other grandfather was a racehorse trainer and a professional boxing coach. So my father was Queensland State Champion in 1948. Of course, I followed in his footsteps in the boxing area and became the sparring partner, of course, for many of the state champions. And you can read about my history there anyhow. So what's this website all about? Well, I'm considering, because I've got the prophetic edge, I've seen a lot of things happen in Australia over the last couple of years now that we were predicting back in 2019, such as the danger of Islamic terrorism, which is now here on our shores, and basically the woke politics of the Australian Labor government. And the reason why they got in again is because we never had an opposition. The opposition was trying to be woke, and that was a fatal mistake. Now, what I'm seeing, initially I couldn't really see this clearly, but there's two things that I want to go sort of reveal on this introductory video. The main thing is click, you're interested, click the link below and go to the blog and go through that blog, because when I see something prophetically or in politics, I'll log it on the blog because, I can't, basically I can't keep up to speed with it all. And when I see it, so I log it, and then you can back to refer it, including the terrorism, potential terrorism attack. I've got the, let's say, the revelation on that around about mid-November. Sure enough, it happened in December. The big revelation, though, is I just want to reveal on this and go through the blog and see it in the various articles, is there's two things. Today, on Anzac Day, there's a couple of things that are coming up to the forefront. Number one, what I saw was originally, this is about, 6 months ago or so, I saw the Spirit of the Light Horse Brigade. Remember, it was the Australian troops that liberated Israel. Now, Israel is the only democracy in the Middle East. Now, there's a lot of naysayers about Israel. You have all the lefties carrying on like a pork chop. At the end of the day, they've got no knowledge of what's going on in the Middle East, nor do they have any knowledge of Islam either. So those people who understand where I'm coming from, you know exactly what I'm talking about. So the other thing is, a lot of people will carry on about Donald Trump. Now, I've been following Trump and believed in Trump's leadership from day one, even before he was the United States president. What Trump's doing He's reorganizing the geopolitical scene like you wouldn't believe. And the reason why he's doing that is to make certain that future generations actually do have a future. And of course, at the moment, as I speak, the war in Iran's going on. A lot of people have got all sorts of silly ideas about that. But the bottom line is that we must, under all circumstances, remove the terrorist regime that has taken over the Persian people. And bottom line is that it's sort of all biblical as well, because the short version is the 538 BC, the great King Cyrus, who the Prince of Persia is actually still alive. He's done quite a lot of videos, and I've posted them accordingly. He's in direct descendant of the great King Cyrus. Now, King Cyrus, he was actually the first human rights king of ancient Persia. So it goes back, when you talk about human rights, the roots of human rights is actually with the Persian people, goes right back to King Cyrus. King Cyrus released the Israelis because they were, taken away to Babylon by King Nebuchadnezzar, and then of course the King Cyrus then overtook all that area, and Persia was just like most of the known world at that particular time, especially in Asia. And he released the Israelis back to Israel to build the temple. And when you read about it in Ezekiel, I think it is, look it up on the internet, that he actually heard from God, the God. So it's very interesting connection, and the Israeli people remember that because they know the Old Testament very, very well, and they've always had a great respect for the Persian people. But the Ayatollahs who took over in 1979, these aren't Persians. They're basically a different tribe of Arabs, so to speak, and unfortunately, the Islamic religion as such is all about taking over people and being absolutely murderous and merciless was the word I was looking for, but murderous at the same time, and bring everyone under military rule, basically, even though they claim to be, in touch with God. What God, you got to figure that out, what God wants to murder people. and the reality is, since 1979, they have butchered about 1 million people in Iran. This is the Ayatollahs, the ones that Donald Trump's finally sorting out. So, and Israel, of course, when people talk about human rights and you see the Free Palestine mob, have no idea that Free Palestine equals liberating Hamas, who are a terrorist proxy sponsored by the Ayatollahs in Iran. One good thing that's happened out of all this, as all the masks are being ripped off and you see who's doing what and who's pretending to do whom. So at the end of the day, the head of the snake regarding terrorism worldwide is Iran. So that's why Donald Trump cleaned up the job that 47 years later, none of the presidents of the US ever did anything about it except supply the terrorists with money and all that. Read about it, especially with Obama. Obama was a Trojan horse in America anyhow. So, okay, so what's this website all about? Basically what I just covered. It covers geopolitical prophecies. It covers geopolitical policies and how I see it from, my perspective. And I'm an Australian. I'm 71 this year, so I'm a generation of Australians that completely know BS, and we just want the bottom line. So the bottom line you'll get from me. Now, what I do politically, again, when I ran for the lead Senate candidate for Rise Up Australia at Queensland, 2019, I got about 25,000 votes. And I actually, through my preferences, actually got Senator Rennick into power. He reminded me of that. I didn't know that at the time. I thought, well, gee, why I didn't get in. This time I'm looking at, and I think that One Nation with Barnaby Joyce on board is going to be the alternative party in Australia, especially in the Senate. And I see a double dissolution coming up very shortly. Albanese's lost control. Well, he never had control of the country, really. Hopeless leader on every meter that you want to look at, on every front. And he's basically the equivalent of Keir Starmer in the UK, which is just, they're embarrassing. So the Albanese government is anti-Israel. It's anti-Trump. It's anti what Australia actually stands for. And there's got to be a complete reversal. People ask me, how did Albanese get in? Well, it's pretty simple. We didn't have an opposition at the time, the last election. The opposition was trying to be woke, and Albanese got in on a primary vote of 30%. So that means 7 out of 10 people never voted for him. So, preferential voting, I don't have to go into that, but when you don't have an opposition that's a strong opposition, people don't know what to do, and so they just put numbers in the box. And unfortunately, we got a second dose of this weak, insipid. So I don't even call him a prime minister. He's just a face for the big Labor committee, I suppose. So this is the summary. I'll finish off on this. One, I believe, and have predicted for the last 6 months, that we will get a double dissolution shortly. Albanese will step down, and when we have a double dissolution, we have a completely, reset the whole parliament and have another election. I believe One Nation will get up substantially, especially in the Senate, and other parties, of course. Where I go from here, I'm not quite certain yet. I was thinking independent, because I've got certain values. Have a look at them on the site that sort of parallel with One Nation. But I'm the sort of character that doesn't like to be controlled by a committee or something. So I may still look at the independent, or I may just be a supporter. I'll make that decision when it comes. But this is the bottom line. One, double dissolution. Two, there'll be a referendum on free speech. And then there'll be 5 years of reconstructing Australia. Now, have a look on my original website, which covered all the COVID, gaslighting, basically. And I do have a med science degree for all the characters that think, well, what are you talking about? So I do understand how vaccines work, or how the mRNA spike protein, which isn't a vaccine, by the way, it's an experimental drug. I understand how all that works, and I've connected with the appropriate people who actually know a hell of a lot more than the government's frukas at the time, including the politicians who didn't have a clue what was going on. 30% of patients got damage from the mRNA jab, and most of that's on the Rise Up Australia Brisbane website, which was my original website, but I had to build Rise Up Australia Brisbane 2025, and I'm thinking of adding a name as Wake Up Australia 2026 or something like that. Anyway, that's the summary. At the moment, I'm just, basically the voice, or, the truth blog. We're putting Australia first. I'm supporting, at this point, I'm really looking at One Nation as the alternative for 2 reasons. One, Pauline Hanson stood up for Israel, which means Genesis 12:3 means that anyone who blesses Israel is blessed. It's an automatic blessing from the Lord himself. And secondly, she's got Gina Rinehart backing her up as well. So in Australia, we need one of the billionaires backing up a political party. So Gina Rinehart's very level-headed. And I thought it could have been Clive Palmer. I thought it was Twiggy Forrest. Now, no, they've cancelled themselves out. Gina Rinehart seems to be the solid person that also forms a good relationship with Donald Trump. So Queensland's going to be the strong state again under Christofelli, who's a local Ingham boy. I'm originally from Innisfail, so we're all in the same group up there with Bob Catter and the mob. I know all the Catters and etc. So Christofelli's really being what I call like similar to the state of Texas in the USA. We're looking at our own oil and everything, and Donald Trump's looking at putting a Trump Tower at the Gold Coast. What could be better? We make Australia great by starting in Queensland, right? Barnaby Joyce has apparently got a property in Queensland now, so that's all good. Pauline Hanson's from Queensland, so we're all Queenslanders. So I think Queensland will lead the charge regarding the political scene. I'm putting my support behind One Nation. And the reason is they've got rid of some characters I didn't like that was there recently, and that's good. And they're cleaning up the act, and they're talking the right things. And they're an alternative, and they're an alternative that basically parallels the values that I've had on my website for years. And now we're right in the middle of it. Before, we were predicting it back in 2019. Now we're in the middle of it, including the terrorism thing. So we've got to clean that act up as well. Okay, that's Graham Healy over and out. Hope that gives you some sort of insight. I may run as a senator. I may just be a supporter. I've got to wait until my spirit says yay or nay. In the meantime, I'm here just to, give revelation of what I see and the political scene and be a voice in the wilderness, basically. Okay, hope that explains everything. If you want to support Rise Up Australia Brisbane 2025, just, join I think you can click on and subscribe and that, and I'll send the occasional newsletter, but the mainly keep in line or keep up to date with the blog. That's the big thing. Okay, Graham Healy over and out. Have a great day, and thank you very much for listening.